The people that I am looking for might be currently thinking of themselves as under a sort of magical umbrella. I often meet people who might be considered hippies or cosmonauts, people who have either explored trip experiences, or people who naturally produce trip experiences for themselves. They may also be hiding away in neurodiversity communities, using the idea of autism, ADHD, synesthesia, high sensitivity personality traits to explain their experiences in the world. But I believe at the core of all of that, there is an underlying feature of the nervous system that sets some people apart from the way that they're perceiving the world, impacting the personalities that they form, the connections that they make, the communities that they find themselves in, or the isolation that they find themselves in, since having these kinds of traits can inherently be really isolating. We can find ourselves struggling to make connections that really understand what's up. When I first started affiliating with the idea of ADHD specifically, I was in a window of really rapid shift in my life and my sense of purpose and direction. And I started to have a grip on the things that had made my goals and my pursuits of my goals really difficult, as well as the reason that I felt certain goals were worth pursuing when people around me struggled to be incentivized by those ideas. We may feel a really strong drive for connection, especially, and this can come out of all kinds of different background pieces feeding into it, but underlyingly, I believe we need to find each other, that we need to amplify the traits and strengths, and we need assistance in overcoming the resistance that's inherent in participating in a world where our perceptions are unusual, or our internal feelings and self-guidance, ability to navigate ourselves in the world can be really distinct from the people that we encounter most of the time. When I think about the population that I'm talking about, you run across statistics that claim something like maybe 5% to some of the higher expert estimates run up to 20% of the population may have ADHD. Inside of like mystical and empathic communities, there's a similar kind of claim that there may be about 10 to 20% intuitives. The community of synesthesia claims around the same number, and this is also a frame that we're seeing for people identifying as non-binary or outside of the heterosexual sexual attraction identities. So what's really interesting about this as I dive into my own work is that I almost never find a pure representative of any of these individual identities, that people who are experiencing queer identity or attraction, people who are experiencing neurodiversity, people who are experiencing mystical moments and drives, are very overlapping. Many of these are the same people. And I don't see anybody at the moment really attempting to draw out the dynamic of that and giving a good explanation for why this would be so overlapping. So if I come to a scientific angle, I tell people when I'm putting on the scientific lens, I would say there's just a certain amount of the people in a given population that have nervous systems that are formatted differently from others. And when you take it all into a larger lump, you may find that that old adage of there's no such thing as normal, the curve of people that fits in the center of the bell gets narrower and narrower as you include these other possible overlapping traits, comorbidities, even if you're really stuck on the diagnostic angle. So if this is the case, if we have this batch of people, like, we're not just showing up for the first time. We have these labels to put onto these categories of people as the scientific model has developed and evolved for really just a few hundred years. We're beginning to have a set of terms to use and maneuver. But this population has existed and been among us and doing work that's specific to their capacities for as far back as we can find. And when we look into the pathway of history, we find people who may have been expressing traits connected with ADHD really being well suited to leading the front lines of battle or organizing large-scale social operations, getting kingdoms and empires off the ground. We have people expressing traits of synesthesia, interpreting the will of the gods, and divining outcomes into the future, perceiving pieces of reality that are not transparent to the general population. We have people expressing traits of autism who are decoding the intricacies of science and maths layered into the natural world and rendering those into focused and useful information that others may not have picked up on. Writing music, developing musical theory, inventing instruments. And again, many of these people are very mixed traits when it comes down to it. So with all this variety of humans, human nervous systems, human experience, and the vast array of terminology that we've generated to be able to describe the phenomenon that we're seeing inside of these humans, these nervous systems, and their distinctiveness, I have to believe that it's a strategic component of our survival as a species. Imagining a group of people that were what we now think of as neurotypical, surviving in Paleolithic times without the assistance of some well-tuned scouts or some very avant-garde thinkers, outlying problem solvers, people who tend to notice patterns in ways that are a bit beyond. I don't imagine these populations thriving without the assistance of these kind of unusual characters mixed among them. And replaying the window of history and the anecdotes, the captures that we have of what actually was going on from first-person accounts, that's what we see is really these behaviors of relatively extraordinary people are captured for us at a higher rate. It's easier to find information about the weirdos in history than it is to find information about the people who are going about their business more or less staying on pattern. So this makes me wonder where are we at right now in this phase of evolutionary development, whether we take it from a science angle as we sit on the cusp of artificial intelligence, unlocking all of these technological problems that we've struggled with, or if we take the angle of enchantment, where the psyche, the subconscious, the aspects of vibration and the unseen worlds are intersecting in ways that are widely being observed as quite new. This is where my interest lies. I am so curious about these people who can detect patterns that are invisible to others, who can perceive emotional states that are not available as useful data to the bulk of the people around them. The people who can hear music or can feel the texture of colors. These people are bringing us something that we have to learn how to use in order to thrive as a society. And in the past, where we might have burned them, or we might have shut them away in isolated facilities to practice their spiritual or mystical influences from there, we have a brand new opportunity to imagine something, and we have access to the internet. We have the ability to find each other. That has never been in our path before. Okay, I'm gonna do that part again because you're just like turning around in a circle, no one can see me, okay? We have the internet. We have the ability to find each other on a level that is completely unprecedented. Will you slow down a little bit? Because I can't see where I'm going and pay attention to the camera and think of what I'm saying when you're like jumping back and forth and the camera is changing direction so fast. Okay, I'm gonna do that again. Thanks. And we now have the internet, an absolutely unprecedented ability to find each other, to locate by specific traits, and also by potential projects of inspiration, and locate the people who intersect with our needs as a species in our material and spiritual evolutions. So this is what excites me, this is what gets me up day after day. Finding these people and finding a way to understand the brand new potential that they're bringing into the world. And if you've watched this far, you're probably one of them. And I'd like to talk to you.